Welcome to the Brian Craig Show. My name is Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. And of course, we're going to talk about this incredible airstrike and capture in Venezuela by President Trump today. The press conference that President Trump will be having, I will carry that. And it's scheduled for 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So I'm monitoring, and when the president comes on live, I will go to it and we'll carry it live. Although he did an interview, which I'm going to play some clips of in a moment, on Fox and Friends this morning, and he gave us an incredible amount of detail about what happened and everything that went down. Although we're going to get more, the president said in the press conference. We're going to be hearing from Pete Hegseth. I'm assuming Raising Cane will be there. He'll be there, of course. And we'll get more of the operational details. But you know, this whole military operation, we're going to get the exact time of when it started until they picked up Maduro when the press conference happens in a little bit. But I have never seen a military operation run so fast. And, you know, what a lot of people are going to make comparisons to is Panama and Noriega in 89. And I remember that. I watched it live on television when it was happening. That was a full-scale military invasion of Panama. That wasn't some surgical operation that was in and out. It was like World War II, all right? Like they were storming the beaches of Normandy. It was a very big land operation. It wasn't like this. This was amazing. President Trump, he said a little while ago this morning that he talked to Maduro just a week ago. And what he told him is, because it's been reported that he was offering him, some deal. No, he told him he had to surrender. So he was still going to have to surrender on that indictment. He wasn't going to set him up with his drug cartel billions in some country somewhere where he'd be able to live out his life. He wasn't going to allow that to happen. But he told him he had to surrender, and he talked to him a week ago, and it happened. And when I saw this operation and how quick it happened, and I knew when we didn't hear or see from Maduro, I knew he was either on the run, killed, or captured. And it was, of course, captured is what had happened. And when you see this operation and how quick and how perfect everything went today, you got to ask yourself these questions, right? Why is it that Donald Trump, Pete Hegseth, and Raising Cane got Maduro in just basically a few minutes, and here we are, Pam Bondi and Kash Patel have burned through a whole year and they haven't arrested anyone? And they're flying Maduro, well, I guess he's already there now, but to New York, because that's where the indictment is, federal indictment in New York. So I imagine the Democrats are already banging on the doors this Saturday morning of federal judges to find a judge who will issue an order ordering President Trump to release Maduro, right? Illegal arrest. Let him go. I wouldn't be surprised at that. But Pam Bondi is now running around now it's in her court. We're going to prosecute to the fullest extent. Yeah, and Comey too, right? And Brennan, while you're at it. I have lost 100% faith in Pam Bondi, and I know a lot of you guys have too. But when you saw how quick this happened, it was absolutely amazing. They got Maduro like that, boom. If President Trump was president on 9/11, how long do you think it would have taken for him to have captured or killed bin Laden? Probably by September, maybe 13th, 14th, bin Laden would have either been captured or killed. And the same goes for either one of Operation Iraqi Freedom or the Gulf War I. If those would have happened under President Trump's watch, how long would it have taken him to end the wars? This is the thing. All these wars that we've been in since the end of the Second World War in 1945, none of them were fought by the previous presidents to win them. They were all fought to prolong them so they could feed their donors in the military-industrial complex. The military-industrial complex doesn't like this. A war that lasts a few minutes. Boom, we got them, right? That's it. You know, and even if you went to like as an example, the Vietnam War went on for 10 years. The United States, even then for the time, the United States doesn't just have the most powerful military in the world. We have the most advanced technologically in the world. And we have ever since the end of the Second World War. Right? So in the Vietnam War, you mean to tell me that we couldn't take out or capture Ho Chi Minh? Of course we could have. But they didn't. That's not the purpose of these wars. This is the only, I don't know if you want to call this a war. I don't know. It's more than a criminal operation. I know it's being treated and discussed as law enforcement. I get it because of the indictment. But this is really a major war because what Maduro is he's the head of a drug cartel. And, you look at what's going on here. Maduro in Venezuela is working with the CCP, the Iranians, the Cubans, and because he's working with the Iranians, he's affiliated with all the Islamic terrorist organizations like Hezbollah and everything else, And what has he been doing? He hasn't just been feeding them oil and all of that. He's been working with all of the greatest enemies of the United States in the world, from China down to Hezbollah and everyone in between, to destabilize the United States. So how does he destabilize the United States? He's bringing all these drugs in. President Trump said drugs being brought here by sea are now down 97%, right? Down 97%. A week ago it was 91. Now it's 97. Okay. So Maduro has been destabilizing the United States with his friends in all these other countries, CCP, Iran, and all of them, by flooding us with drugs, which causes, well, of course, you got a lot of junkies around. A lot of them do crime and hurt and kill people to get money for their drugs, right? It jams up the federal government because there's a lot of things connected to it. He's been pouring illegals into our country illegally for years. President Trump shut down the southern border, but the Venezuelan gangs, the Trinda, the MS-13ers, and all of that, they've all been coming here nonstop, destabilizing our country and killing our people that way with all the crime and everything that's going on. So they're acting as if the way that the never Trumpers, the haters are always going to hate, right? So they're always going to be out there and they're always going to be claiming that, oh, this is wrong and it's illegal and he didn't go to Of course he didn't tell Congress. If he would have told Congress, they say, oh, he didn't inform the Armed Services Committee. If he would have told the Armed Services Committee that this was happening, they would have leaked it out. That's it. That's why he didn't inform Congress when he took out Soleimani, because he knew Ilhan Omar and Tlaib would have told their friends in the Muslim Brotherhood, and they would have known, and the mission would have been a failure. You can't trust these people in Congress. First off, most everybody in Congress is on the take, right? No, you couldn't tell them. You did the right thing. It's amazing they kept this a secret. But this isn't some military conflict that President Trump started. This war on drugs was declared by Ronald Reagan in the 80s, and it's been nothing more than a bumper sticker. Yeah, I know the thing with Noriega. I don't trust that was to take out his drug business. That was Bush 41 was president then, and, deep state CIA guy. So, the Bush family always have ulterior motives other than the publicly stated ones. Who knows what that was really about? But we know what this was about. And if you look at every military conflict we've been in since 1945, how many of them had anything to do with stabilizing the United States or keeping us secure? The closest you could come, and that I don't even think it should count, is Grenada, with those students that were stuck in Grenada. But all these military operations in Europe, in Asia, the Middle East, Persian Gulf, and all that stuff. Even Africa, we've had operations in Africa over the years and all that. What were those even about, right? What were those even about? And if you look at, if you made a list of the top 5 to 10 threats to this country, how many of them are coming from Latin America, right? The crime, the border issue, the drug issue, right? You know, and that's the way of it. So this is probably the first major military action taken since 1945 that it directly is about protecting the United States and the people here. I would think. And if you stabilize, South America, we have the Monroe Doctrine that President Monroe put in place about no foreign influence in the Western Hemisphere, and then you have China, Iran, and these terrorist organizations that are doing all kind of business. Venezuela has been doing military maneuvers with the Iranians for like 15 years or more, right? Give me a break. The Chinese, the CCP, just stopped in yesterday to meet with Maduro. What were they talking about? God only knows. So no, this is really amazing, and I will be carrying the press conference, guys. I am monitoring, and when the press conference goes live, I'll cut to it. But I'm curious to get the details of it. It really shows you the overwhelming force and technology we have. I woke up really early in the morning, like I always do, and I saw what was going on, and I did a live stream. I don't know what time that was, 3 in the morning, something like that, if you were around, if you caught it, and I was following what happened as it was breaking. And the overwhelming force, the United States blocked all radar. They didn't even get one return shot off to our forces, not a single one. And while no country has a military equal to ours, Venezuela does have naval forces, they have an army, and they do have air forces as well. And nothing was deployed. It's absolutely amazing when you think about it, isn't it? Absolutely. And who I wonder might be nervous? Do you think Zelensky might be worried? President Trump, President Trump, yet again, he has practically a peace deal put together. And what does Zelensky do? Launches a drone strike on Putin's house. You don't mean to tell me that there's not somebody else over there in Ukraine that would be willing to end the war other than this dictator Zelensky who stayed in office past his term? I bet you he's plenty worried right now. So I want to go through some of this. President Trump, he went on Fox and Friends this morning, and I want to play some of it. And he actually, I was surprised how much detail he gave. We'll even get more detail in the press conference.
It just was the right time to do it. We had to do it because it's a war. We're losing 300,000 people a year. We don't lose that much in a war. Okay, if you look.
So 300,000 a year, is that from drugs? Is that just from like overdoses, and does that include people that are killed in the commission of a crime by somebody in the drug? I don't know, but 300,000 a year. That's 10 9/11s every year, right? By the way, if you would like to call in, you're welcome to. The number's pinned in the live chat, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. Do you think that they're going to find a federal judge that's going to order Trump to release Maduro? What do you guys think?
It just was the right time to do it. We had to do it because it's a war. We're losing 300,000 people a year. We don't lose that much in a war. Okay, if you look. And we had to get into that. We were prepared. We had, massive blowtorches and everything else that you need to get through that steel, but we didn't need it. He didn't make it to that area of the house.
Yeah, isn't that amazing? And it also came out that the U.S. forces actually had a replica of Maduro's house or palace or whatever you want to call it, and they actually trained on a replica of Maduro's house. Again, this is from President Trump on Fox and Friends this morning.
Can you tell us where Maduro and his wife are right this second?
Well, they'll be heading to New York. They were indicted in New York, and also.
So were they taken to a ship first, and then?
Yes, to Iwo Jima. They were on a ship.
Okay.
But they'll be heading into New York. The helicopters took them out, and they went by helicopter in a nice flight. I'm sure they loved it. But they've killed a lot of people. Remember that they killed a lot of people, and
a lot of Americans.
even people in their own country. They killed a lot of people to maintain power. He's a very vicious person.
You tell.
And I got to say, this is absolutely amazing. You want to talk about transparency? Here we have a major military action, right, and a capture of a foreign leader, major military action, and the commander-in-chief, just a short time later, he's on live television on the phone giving us all kinds of details about what happened. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Norm from upstate New York.
Hey, what's up, Norm in New York?
How you doing, Brian?
All right.
This is absolutely amazing. He got him.
Oh, yeah.
This is absolutely amazing. People forget back in 2017, their citizens were losing. They had lost 25 pounds because they were starving.
Yes.
I mean, the average citizen lost 25 pounds.
Crazy.
Of weight. They were killing zoo animals. They were eating their own pets. They were doing everything in the world to survive because this narco-terrorist was terrorizing them.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, and this was
really a great day.
And this was going on during Chavez. Remember, he was in the Chavez administration, Maduro. So this has been going on, I don't know, 20 years. I mean, it's got awful what the people have been going through down there. I'm pretty amazed, though, by how quick it happened. Right? I mean,
it is quite. It's astonishing how quickly this just took place, and it's over. It's over and done with.
Yeah, it's over. It was over before we even really knew what happened, almost, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to make a movie about this. It's going to seem unbelievable how it took place and how he was able to keep it from fake news, and he was able to, just get in there and get out. And now these people have hope. They have a future now. Their country has a future.
And when you see the overwhelming skill and technology that the United States military has, you mean to tell me that George W. Bush couldn't have captured Saddam Hussein on day 1 or 2 of that war? That it had to go on forever and ever? Or we never really got bin Laden until how many years later? Come on. They purposely let these people get away to prolong the wars.
Well, I mean, wars make money. I mean, somebody makes money off of all those bombs and explosions that take place.
That's right.
So, that's where the money's at.
That's right. All right.
Yeah. So sometimes I call into some of these shows, the other shows that like.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Let me answer these other lines that are coming in. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You call into other shows and then what?
Oh, well, with some of these smaller shows where these guys have Trump derangement syndrome. So this is going to be a beautiful thing to troll them with. I'm just going to tell them how much of a hero Trump is.
Okay.
Next time I call in.
He is a hero. He is a hero. All right. Appreciate the call from New York. All right. Take care. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, how you doing, Brian? This is Angeles Antonio.
Hey, what's up?
Man, it's a great day, a great day, a great day. Trump is the greatest. He is the man. They try to continuously disrespect him and say he doesn't know what he's doing. He knows everything a million days or whatever weeks before anybody could even figure it out. And what he did today, it so shows he's so great. And Hashtag and everybody in his administration, they're just great. I'm talking about powerful people, good minds all working together, man.
Isn't it amazing how fast they got this over with? That they just went in and got him.
I wrote a little thing on your site, and I said it was maybe 5 hours and 23 minutes. I'm talking about Putin needs to look at this and say, I want to be like Trump. I want to be just like Trump. Because Putin fighting for 3 years, don't know what the hell he's doing. This man knocks it off in 3-4 hours.
Oh, you mean Putin? You mean Putin captures Zelensky? Is that what you mean?
No, I'm talking about Putin with his war he's got going on over in Ukraine. He's constantly fighting that war.
Yeah.
In 3 years, and Trump does this in 4-5 hours.
That's right. That's absolutely amazing.
Hey, but it's great, man, and he's done a great job. He's done a perfect job, the most beautifulest job in the world, and they need to get off his back. But we might as well get ready for those dumbass Democrats in New York because they're going to have a parade trying to get Maduro out of jail.
How long do you think it's going to be before they find some Clinton or Obama or Biden-appointed judge to order Trump to
They
release
already,
Maduro.
they already got him. They already got him. They already got him.
Yeah.
They already got him.
Probably.
I'm just sitting up here. I'm just feeling good, glad and proud about what President Trump did. He's the greatest president ever, and I hope he does something with us to get up in Cuba and take Cuba.
That's right.
But
Cuba's in
it's a
big
great
trouble
day.
now. All right. Appreciate
Yeah,
the
but it's a
call.
great day for
Good
Trump.
point. You made some good points. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Mike from Louisiana.
Hey, Mike. What's up?
You know, my question is this. Are we going to have to go back in there to get his inner circle, Maduro's inner circle? And that includes his 35-year-old son.
I know
That's
some of them
a
are dead.
politician.
Some of them are dead.
Right. Now, is his son dead? Was his son able to find a place to hide
I don't
before
know.
all this took place?
We'll find out.
We'll see about that. We'll see about that. Yeah. And look, here's the deal. We know that they were having visits with the CCP. If some of those CCP guys were still there during the invasion, during this thing, could they have gotten some of these CCP guys?
I don't know. We'll find out. I doubt, unless they were in his house or at the port. I'm really curious. The port where they were, where they launched those airstrikes in the port where we saw all the explosions. What were they targeting, or was that kind of like a distraction so that they could get the forces into Maduro's house? We'll find out, I hope.
We also know that there are training camps down there, not just the drug processing plants, but military training camps down there. How many of those have been destroyed now? That's
right. All right. Appreciate the call, Mike. Yeah, if you're on hold, stand by. If you'd like to call in, the number is pinned in the live chat, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. Yeah, so the president, just a little while ago, he was on the phone on Fox.
Well, if they stay loyal, the future.
Okay, now they're talking about, they'd asked him about the government officials that are behind, who's going to be running Venezuela.
Well, if they stay loyal, the future is really bad. Really bad for them. If they convert, there's a conversion factor. I would say most of them have converted. He's had very little loyalty. In fact, I noticed that today that some people are marching on the street waving flags, and they're very in support. They have American flags being waved on the streets.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think he's got very little support. Look, he was a dictator that the people hated.
That's right. That's right. Now, some of the government officials have been killed. We don't have confirmation on which ones yet. There's some things on X, but President Trump did make mention that the vice president is still in place down there. But is he really the vice president, right, with what happened?
What did those off-ramps look like?
Okay, now these are the off-ramps. They asked President Trump about these opportunities that they gave Maduro to, leave and get out of Venezuela.
What did those off-ramps look like?
Well, basically, I said you have to give up. You have to surrender. And he was close, but in the end, I really didn't. We had to do something that was really much more surgical, much more powerful. This was much more powerful than anything we could have done. This is amazing, and we learned a lot going into. We learned a lot of things, but this was a very important symbol. And I had discussions. I actually spoke to him myself, but I said, you have to give up. You have to surrender.
When did you speak to him?
He was not willing. A week ago.
So he had to surrender on the indictments with his wife, and he refused to do that. So now this happened. And, the president also said that he was able to watch all of it in real time. So I'm really curious as to whether or not we're going to get at the press conference, which I am monitoring, and we'll cut away to the press conference when it goes live. I'm hoping we get to see some of that video that the president saw up at Mar-a-Lago. He said he watched it in real time, and he was also listening in on their communications.
We were prepared to do a second wave. We were all set, and this was so lethal. This was so powerful that we didn't have to, but we're prepared. We're out there with an armada like nobody's ever seen before, and we're prepared, and frankly, probably thought we were going to have to do it, but we were prepared for a second wave going in.
See, you know, what happened here with Maduro is a lot what happened with bin Laden. You know, if you remember, Al-Qaeda had attacked us multiple times before 9/11, right? The USS, well, the World Trade Center the first time, the USS Cole, and then those embassy attacks in Africa. And there was no response from the United States. So they amped up to 9/11 because they figured, the United States is weak. And Maduro misjudged, too, what the United States would do. He didn't think something like this would happen. I mean, doesn't he? I guess he's not following. Maybe he's watching too much Univision and Telemundo as opposed to finding out what's really going on in the mind of the president. Or he would have known that he was serious. But he obviously didn't take him in a serious way at all. He could have avoided the whole thing. All right. Again, this is the president detailing. This was after the attack just a little while ago.
These are weak, stupid people, and they're trying to save themselves from almost destroying our country. If I didn't get elected, our country would not. I don't even think we'd have a country right now. We were heading down the path of destruction. We had inflation. We had high prices. They're the ones that caused high prices, not us. We're bringing the prices way down. We have oil now in many places $1.99 a gallon. And, you know, when you do oil, everything follows, but everything is following. But, no, they would have destroyed our country. If we didn't get elected, if Kamala or a Joe type got elected, if that group got elected, but if Kamala got elected, I don't think at this point we would even have a country. We were laughed at all over the world. The money was flowing out. Everybody was leaving. The companies were leaving. The people were leaving.
Yeah, and, you know, if you remember, Kamala, you know, they were talking about, you know, she was our border czarina, right? They were talking about, well, what could we do to stop the flow of people? And she's like, oh, well, you know, the economy down there, we can send money. They have plenty of money from the drugs. They've got billions of dollars in cash money. No.
The wealth was leaving. We have $18 trillion coming back into our country, the biggest number in the history of the world. The second biggest number was $3 trillion. We're at $18 trillion, and it's building factories and plants. It's doing things that no country has ever seen before. But as far as last night is concerned, it was really genius. What they did is genius. And the Democrats, maybe they'll take a shot. You know, they'll take a shot. All they do is complain. They don't talk about, they should say, you know what, we did a great job. We're stopping drugs from coming into this country. And nobody's been able to do it until we came along. But they should say, great job. They shouldn't say, oh, gee, maybe it's not constitutional. You know, the same old stuff that we've been hearing for years and years and years. They did an incredible job. These men and women that went out there last night, the courage they had, going into an area where, you know, all the lights were turned off. We turned off almost all of the lights in Caracas. I mean, this thing was so organized. And they go into a dark space with machine guns facing them all over the place. And then you hear from a guy that I'd never even heard of him. But you hear from some congressman saying, oh, this is so terrible. We're saving lives. And by the way, the boats, every boat, because that's sort of related to this, every boat that we hit saves 25,000 lives.
Yeah, because there's so many drugs on it. If you'd like to call in, the number's pinned in the live chat, 888-465-2631. If you're on hold, stand by. We'll take a quick break and be right back. On the line, we have Bruce. Bruce is a client of Jupiter Joe Thomas. He heard me talking with Joe Thomas about annuities and what a great deal they are, and he went in with his wife, and now he's a client. Hey, Bruce, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Brian.
So tell me about your experience with Jupiter Joe Thomas.
A fine gentleman. We sat down with Joe, and we explained everything to him, and we brought all our information, and he worked everything out great.
The cool thing about annuities is your money's never at risk. You're guaranteed a revenue stream for the rest of your life, but there's a bonus, really a signing bonus, where you can make a boatload of money before you even leave Joe Thomas's office. Can you talk a little bit about that, Bruce?
Well, that's where I was surprised when we sat down. We talked about the bonuses, and to my amazement, it was 10%, and there was even another one that's bigger.
Wow. That's amazing. So you made 10% on your money before you even got back in your car.
Yeah, it was more than that, but it was great.
Listen, guys, do what Bruce did. Give Jupiter Joe Thomas a call. You can set up a free consultation either on the phone or in the office, and Joe Thomas will put together a custom proposal just for you. His number is 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999 and online at jupiterjoe.com. All right, Bruce, thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Hi, it's Dr. Philip Appleton. You've been hearing my commercials about bye-bye pain, my laser weight treatment, but today's commercial and today's spot is going to be on Tom Laporta, Laporta Roofing. What an experience I've had with him and his company. They've done a few of my friends' houses and my son and my house, and there's never a downtime. They're old school, which means you call them up, they'll be there. How many times have you called somebody up and they never show up, or they give you an excuse, weather, traffic, whatever? Tom Laporta, what a class act. The workmanship, the magnificent teamwork they have. I recommend them 100%.
Thanks, Dr. Appleton. Now do what Dr. Appleton did. Pick up your phone and call Tom Laporta from Laporta Roofing on your cell phone. 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And online, laportaroofing.com. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. Thanks, guys. If you're new, make sure that you subscribe. I am monitoring, and when the president's press conference from Mar-a-Lago goes live, I will cut to it. All right. Yeah. I was going to Palm Beach today. I was thinking about it this morning, and I was going to do some vlogging up there, and I was going to go by Mar-a-Lago. And then when I saw this going on, I'm like, no way. I mean, they have top people from the cabinet up there, right? The president's there. Hegseth is there. I'm assuming Raisin Kane is there. Yeah, exactly. And Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, is there. So the security is already high, but during a military action like this, it's going to be through the roof. So I wouldn't even be able to get close. All right, so here's more of the president talking about the attack.
Tremendous numbers of people were being killed through drugs. And what they did to our country in sending prisoners and people from mental institutions and drug lords and everything, they sent them by the hundreds of thousands of people into our country. And that is just unforgivable. That's why, he wanted to negotiate at the end, and I didn't want to negotiate. I said, nope, we got to do it. He was trying to negotiate at the end. You probably saw that. And trying hard to make a deal. And I said, this could have been a very foolish thing if it didn't work out. But I said, nope, we can't do it. What he did with drugs is bad. What he did with a lot of other things is bad. But what he did was sending hundreds of thousands of Tren de Aragua and drug dealers. And they emptied out their jails into our country. They emptied out, if you think about it, they emptied out all of their mental institutions into our country. What he did there, and every other thing, is unforgivable.
Absolutely, and those are direct attacks. All right, now I just got a notification to stand by for the press conference. So we'll do that. So as soon as this press conference begins, I will go right. Well, it'll be right here. It'll pop right up. This is going to be a good one, and I'm really hoping that we get a lot of details, because this is probably the when it comes to like an enemy leader's capture, this is probably the most flawless operation that's ever happened. And I'm hoping we get to see a timeline, like from the moment that our forces entered Venezuelan airspace, or when that attack happened, with the bombing happened, to the time when they got Maduro in custody with his wife, how long that was. I'm really curious about the timeline, and I'm also hoping we get to see some of the video. And President Trump did say on Fox that Pete Hegseth was going to be a part of this press conference. So to me, that means that Pete Hegseth is going to want to brag right? Because these guys did such a great job. He's going to want to pump them up pretty good and let everybody know what an incredible job they did and brag about how proud he is of his guys. So I'm hoping to get a lot of details from Pete Hegseth on how this operation went down. And this really is the model for future military operations because, I was talking about at the beginning here, if President Trump was president on 9/11, how long would it have been until bin Laden was killed or captured? I think within a week. You're telling me some guy that was getting around on donkey, they couldn't get him? Of course, they let bin Laden get away because they wanted to prolong the war. And that goes for these other wars too. And this is the way that these wars could be fought and won in just a couple of hours if they go after these dictators. This isn't the Second World War anymore. We have dictators. I mean, think about it. You don't think the United States had the ability to snatch Castro when he first took over? Of course they did, but they didn't because the Cold War, they wanted to keep that going, and having an enemy 90 miles from Key West helped keep it going. I mean, it really shows you what lowlives we've had as past presidents, doesn't it? Incompetent lowlives, all on the take with the military-industrial complex. Now, they're saying less than 10 minutes. And I bet you Pete Hegseth is going to be just like on top of the world. I mean, this went through flawlessly. And I would love to see, I don't think they're going to show this to us, but wouldn't you like to see the makeshift situation room they have at Mar-a-Lago? Remember that photograph we got when they took out bin Laden, when Obama was president and Hillary Clinton was covering her face? She couldn't look. It was so weak. I'd love to see the video and the stills in the Mar-a-Lago situation room with President Trump, Pete Hegseth, and the rest. Oh, yeah. And I know you've seen the video out of Miami of the Venezuelans in the street. There's like some pool footage that I've been seeing all morning. That's actually where that's at is in Doral, which is where President Trump has his resort in Miami. It's right down the street from his resort. All right, let me check here. Nope, we're still standing by. Let me pull it up so I can monitor here. Yeah, if you're on hold, hang in there. I might take calls after the press conference. I'm monitoring here on my phone the press conference. So if the press conference begins, I'll cut right to it because I wanted to play a couple more clips of the president talking on Fox this morning.
What do you think is next for the Venezuelan people now that you have removed Maduro so that he can face American justice?
Well, we're making that decision now. We can't take a chance on letting somebody else run and just take over where he left off.
That's right.
So we're making that decision now. We'll be involved in it very much. And we want to do liberty for the people. We want to, have a great relationship. I think the people of Venezuela are very, very happy because they love the United States. They were run by essentially a dictatorship or worse. Mm-hmm. It couldn't have been worse. It was a terrible thing that was taking place in Venezuela.
What?
Yeah, how bad is his wife that she's also indicted, right? You don't usually see the wives connected to this, so she's as much of a terror as he is.
Well, it wasn't meant to be, and we're very friendly with her. She's a good woman, but the cartels are running Mexico. She's not running Mexico.
He's talking about the president of Mexico, Sheinbaum.
The cartels are running Mexico. And we could be politically correct and be nice and say, oh, yes, she is. No, she's very, she's very frightened of the cartels. They're running Mexico. And I've asked her numerous times, would you like us to take out the cartels? No, Mr. President. No, please. So we have to do something because we lost. The real number is 300,000 people, in my opinion. They like to say 100,000. 100,000 is a lot of people, but the real number is 300,000 people. And we lost it to drugs, and they come in through the southern border, mostly the southern border. Plenty come in through Canada too, by the way, in case you
Canada?
don't know. But they come in through the southern border, and something's going to have to be done with Mexico.
Oh boy. You know, why not? Right? I mean, you know, if our own hemisphere is unsafe for us, why have we wasted all this time on these wars in Europe and in the Middle East? There's never been a military action since the Second World War that was as America first as this one.
Compare this to Afghanistan, where we were a laughingstock all over the world. We're not a laughingstock anymore. No, we have the greatest military in the world by far. We have the greatest military equipment in the world by far. And you had to see this in real time. You had to see this, the professionalism and the bravery, everything about it. And you almost couldn't hold them back. It was like they wanted to go so badly.
Yep.
And most people would have said, I'll take a pass. I know that Charlie would have wanted to go because Charlie's a very brave person.
Charlie in the studio, not Charlie.
I know a lot of other people would have said, I think I'll pass on this one. Let's watch it on television. So it's been amazing to see how good they were, how professional they were, how incredible the equipment we have is. I mean, the level of equipment and to see how it worked so perfectly.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you compare this to attacks on Iran over the years with, you know, helicopters crashing into each other, the whole thing was a mess. The Jimmy Carter situation, which was a mess. And every other situation compared to this, nobody's ever seen like this. Look, the Iranian attack, knocking out their nuclear power was big. We had peace in the Middle East, and we have it. Without that, you could never have peace in the Middle East. We knocked.
Yeah. And, you know, I was flipping, you know, this morning when this was breaking. I'm flipping between, you know, all the different news outlets, trying to get as much information, although X was faster than anyone. But I'm watching CNN. They go to a legal correspondent, a woman from, she's a legal analyst from Notre Dame. And their first question was this an illegal action? And what was her answer? No. Oh my goodness. So we're just supposed to allow them to send killers here and drugs and all of that. We're just supposed to take all those hits, you know, and wait for the people of Venezuela to overthrow him. Give me a break. You know, he's a dictator with an army. That wasn't going to happen anytime soon. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. We're waiting for the Mar-a-Lago press conference to begin. This is going to be a good one. President Trump's going to be excited. He's been up all night. So if he's the least bit tired, they'll make, you know, this attack happened, what, around right before 1 a.m. Eastern time? So the president's been up all night. You know, come on. Yeah, he's not a mortal man. He has more energy than guys half his age. He really does. And doesn't he? I wouldn't be able to keep up with it. I'm hoping also to hear from Marco Rubio. You know, it's we all like J.D. Vance, but if you had your choice to be the second MAGA president, let me know in the chat. Who would you rather have as the second MAGA president? J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio? I know it's a tough choice. Marco Rubio or J.D. Vance? Marco or J.D.? I know it's a tough choice, but my first pick would be Marco Rubio. You know, that would be mine. And he is probably, if you really think about it, out of all of the Secretary of States that we've had, Marco Rubio is probably the most important one we've ever had because he's the only Secretary of State that I've seen that's dealing with things that are in our own backyard. Well, JD's winning out over Marco. Really? That's interesting. Why JD over Marco? Well, everyone says JD. Wow. No Marco fans. I like them both. It's hard to pick. You know, the biggest problem we have is we have too many people. They got no one. They got you know, who do they have? AOC. That's about it, right? Gavin Newsom. We have so many people. Who do you choose? But if you really think about it, our past secretaries of state, how many of them have done anything that directly benefits us or helps us or makes us more secure? When was the last time a Secretary of State did something that made our lives better, right? I mean, this is as good as it gets. You know, when President Trump said this morning that illegal drug importation into the country has been cut by 97%, that's amazing that that's happened. And I promise you, Marco Rubio, who has a lot of Latin American contacts, being Cuban-American, senator from Florida in Miami and everything else, he's been able to make contacts to get intelligence information probably that we'd have no way of getting before. All right, we're still waiting for the president. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, Jay from Jersey.
Oh, hey, Jay, you must be very excited getting drugs off the streets of Jersey.
I would always be excited if that was what was going on. I would always be excited about that, but I'm not excited.
Oh.
I'm not excited to get.
You would rather have, as opposed to a 97% decrease in illegal drugs coming to the United States by sea, you would rather have 100% of the illegal drugs they were bringing in make it in. Is that what you're telling me?
No, let me ask you a question. Those boats that were blown up, do you think they were coming to the United States when they got blown up? That's where they were headed?
They may be stopping off somewhere and transferring them to another country or boats somewhere or ships at sea. Who knows? But eventually, the drugs on them would have been here.
Okay, that's possible.
Oh, okay.
But my question, my answer, but the reason I called, because I heard you ask a question.
Yes.
Marco Rubio or J.D. Vance. That's what I called about.
Uh-huh.
I want you to know, and I want you to remember that Jay from Jersey told you this. MAGA is not going anywhere after the next election.
Okay.
There's not going to be no J.D. Vance. There's not going to be no Marco Rubio. There's not going to be nobody MAGA in that White House once we get that nut up out of it. Y'all are done.
Is that what gets you through your day?
If you seem to think that MAGA is going to keep taking over the way Trump done messed up this world, no way, brother.
Pick the biggest thing Trump's done to mess up the world, in your opinion. You say he's messing up the world. How's he messed it up the most? Ridding our country of illegal drugs at an incredible level? What is overturning Roe v. Wade and saving the lives of children? I mean, what has he done to mess up the world?
What has he done to mess up the world? Just him elected messed up the world.
Oh, then that's vague.
You don't see how.
No, give me an action. Give me a policy or an action in his second term that backs up your statement that he's messing up the world.
He's messing up the world with bombing all these countries. Every time something he doesn't like, he bombs.
What bombing operation are you referencing that messed up the world?
When he bombed Iran.
Well, he took out their nuclear program. Now they don't have a nuclear program to threaten the world with. That's a good. You would rather Iran have a nuclear weapon?
No, I would not have it.
Well, President Trump stopped. Well, then you agree with President Trump. He stopped them from having one.
No.
Yeah, you agree with President Trump. He stopped them from having the nuclear weapon. I asked you say he's messing up the world. So you believe that Iran not having a nuclear weapon messes up the world? Explain that to me.
No, everything he's doing is messing up the world. Is he fixing the economy over here instead of worrying about other countries?
Yeah.
No,
yes.
he's
Yes.
not.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
How much is you don't have health care? You don't have health care. I remember you two.
No, I do. I do. I'm self-insured.
You told me you don't have health care.
I do have health care. I don't have health insurance. I also don't have earthquake insurance.
You see, okay, you know what I always argue with you about that you always deny? You seem to think because we're saving $1 on gas, everything is okay. That dollar on gas is went to $50 in the grocery store.
No, grocery prices are down too. I can't help it that you're in some blue state run by Democrats that are artificially inflating prices and overtaxing you. Prices are down in Florida.
Where?
Everywhere, all over the place. Groceries,
But
gas,
that's what I can't understand. Why do you lie like that?
because they are down.
They are not down.
Okay, tell yourself that.
Trump's approval rate is 36.
No, it's not. It's 50.3.
Yes,
It's
it is.
50.3% according to the latest Trafalgar poll, and that's across party lines. A poll where they oversampled Democrats by almost 64%. 50.3% approval rating.
Okay, well, listen, I'm out of the hospital. My son is calling. I got to go.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah. He's got to go. All that truth. He can't handle it, Jay from Jersey. Oh, my goodness. All right, we're waiting on the president. I got the 10-minute warning 30 minutes ago, or maybe 25 minutes ago. So we're standing by. You know, it's an interesting thing because most people that don't like President Trump agree with him a lot more than they realize. Like even Jay from Jersey, he agreed that it was a good thing for Iran not to have a nuclear weapon. So he didn't, he's pro-Trump. But if when people talk about prices are higher in the blue states, and they're coming down slower in the blue states, and that's not an accident. See, these idiot Democrats would rather pay more money than lower prices because inflation is down so much, because they don't want Trump to get credit. So they're keeping the prices up. All right, now I'm still monitoring. We're going to take a quick break. And then when we get back, hopefully the president will be on, because I am really dying to hear what he's going to say. This mission is an unbelievable one. And, of course, what I want to – if you're on hold, hang in there, because I might take a couple more calls. I thought the press conference would have started by now. But I want to tell you guys about the next governor of Minnesota, Mike Lindell. You know, there's incredible sales going on. The New Year's sales are going on right now at MyPillow.com. There's huge savings available with my promo code Kane at checkout. And if you go there, you can see, look at this, 50% off the MyPillow towel sets. Huge savings. The MyPillow slippers, just $39.98. The 100% Giza cotton dream sheets, just $29.98, over 50% off. And there's many more sales, too, including on blankets, duvets, comforters. And you can use my promo code, KANE, Kane, at checkout, site-wide on all the specials. So go to MyPillow.com and make sure to use my promo code, Kane, at checkout, KANE. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, what's up? It's Anthony from Jersey.
Hey, Anthony. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you? First-time caller.
Well, welcome. Did you just find the show?
Yep.
Oh, well, welcome.
I saw it live on YouTube.
Welcome. Well, make sure you subscribe.
And I heard some guy before me say that, like, Trump's the worst thing to happen to America, and you asked him what was the worst thing he did, and he couldn't even answer it.
Exactly.
I don't understand these people.
Well, he's one of your own. That's Jay from Jersey.
Oh my goodness, that's incredible.
Yeah.
I want to thank President Trump for putting up with all the bull crap from all these haters that have no reason to hate him. It's a freaking war of public opinions. Just because they don't like his character, don't like him as a person, they say he's a bad president doing a bad job. I think he's doing the best job in the world, and I think he should run in 2026.
I agree. 2028.
Sorry, 2028. How can we change these rules? How can we make this happen? Please help us.
Our Republican Congress could do it.
Let's do it, man. Please.
Yeah.
After what happened this morning, I'm super proud to be an American.
What makes you proud? What makes you proud about this? I agree with you.
It makes me proud that our president is for the people.
That's right.
Our first president ever that's for the people.
That's right. Isn't that nice? That's nice.
Well, I love it, man.
Well, listen, welcome to the program. Make sure you subscribe and call me again sometime.
I just did. All right, thanks.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Good guy. Showing that there are people with sense in Jersey after Jay's call. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Greg, calling from Sebring, Florida.
Oh, hey, Greg. How you doing?
Doing all right. How you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Our streets have a lot fewer drugs in them these days. That's a good thing, thanks to President Trump.
What do you mean fewer drugs, sir? Could you explain?
Yeah, he's been taking down the drug cartels. He shut down the southern border, been taking out the drug boats, and President Trump said this morning that illegal drug importation into the United States by sea is down by 97%.
And does he have proof to back this up, sir?
Yes. Haven't you seen the videos of the drug boats getting blown up?
No, I've seen fishing boats get attacked.
Fishing boats?
But not drug boats.
Fishing boats?
Yes, sir.
Really?
Those are fishing boats.
Where are the fishing poles?
Fishing boats.
There's no fishing poles.
All righty, sir. I get you.
Well, no, I know. Don't hold on a second. Now, all I see in these boats are 3 or 4 guys with a bunch of sealed up barrels. Do you go fishing with barrels? What's in the barrels? Chum?
Yeah.
Chum. How do you know?
How do I know? Because I listen to the news around the world, not the United States.
Oh, so where around the world do you get your information that you trust more than the President of the United States?
Sir, majority of Americans trust news around the world more than the President.
No, the President, a year ago, the President won the popular vote, including all the battleground states. So most people are behind President Trump. He has over a 50% approval rating.
Then, sir, why is he losing support
in
record numbers?
Who? What do you mean?
Proof of that?
He's not. Among Republicans, the latest polls show that his support among Republicans is at 88%.
Then why is the general poll out there saying Trump's losing majority of his support?
Because liberals are lying.
There's no difference between liberals or conservatives.
Okay. So says the guy that lives in Sebring. I'm in Florida too. I know all about Sebring. Well, you know, but those of us that have sense don't live in Sebring when we live in Florida.
So you're trying to say that everybody who lives in Sebring has no sense?
No, just you.
So you're saying people who live in Central Florida have no sense?
Central Florida.
That's how Trump supporters think that people
Central Florida. Central Florida is where. Excuse me. Sir? Central Florida is where Orlando is, and that is the blue part of the state. Tampa, Hillsborough County. Are you in Hillsborough County?
Do you even know where Sebring is, sir?
I'm not sure which county it is. I'm in South Florida.
It's Harris County. It's Central Florida.
Central Florida, yeah, where all the Democrats are. Right next to you in Hillsborough County, during the shutdowns, the sheriff was put a minister in jail. Hey, listen, I'm going to run, but welcome to the show. All right, take care. Oh my goodness. All right, let's hear from Fox.
About a week ago, and after reaching no conclusion, there were plans underway about 4 days ago for this operation to get underway, but it was delayed for better weather. And the president said that aside from some injuries to U.S. forces, which we are still awaiting details on what that looks like and who exactly was injured, this was considered a huge success. There were no aircraft that were lost. And congressional leaders have been giving statements of support. They did indicate that they didn't get a heads up on this, but the statements that we've seen come in from Republicans have framed it more as an extradition that was justified than a military operation that was aimed at effectuating regime change.
Okay, well, getting a lot of good information, aren't we here? Yeah, I am standing by for the press conference. When the president's press conference begins, I will cut right to it. Yep. Let's go over to the Clinton News Network, CNN. Get some analysis from them.
I would call this a highly, highly precise strike with the pretty clear objective of a grab and snatch and remove the leadership, a kind of a leadership strike, if you will. And can we just pause there and observe? We're going to learn a lot more about the operational details, but this looks to be executed flawlessly from everything I can see. My hat's off to Chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Kane, as well as to the combatant commanders, U.S. Southern Command and U.S. Special Operations Command. From all we can see, a very capable, precise special operations strike successfully conducted.
Wow. Okay, there we go. Oh man, even it went so well that even CNN is backing up the president. So it doesn't get better than that. Oh man, and of course these are here's some Venezuelans who are very happy in Miami. I mean, look at the they're speaking Spanish and all that, but look at how excited these people are, and this guy in Sebring. Oh, I trust information from around the world. No, you know, it's okay to distrust the government with some of the people we've had in it, running it in the past. But right now, the people that are running the country, they know exactly what they're doing, and they're people whose word you can trust. I mean, just still monitoring, waiting for the president. Now, we did get from Fox News, though, that there were some U.S. personnel injured. So, you know, hopefully not too bad, you know. All right, here's another clip. There's the president speaking this morning.
I've never seen anything like this. I was able to watch it in real time, and I watched every aspect of it, and I listened to the communication between, you know, where we were in Florida and out in the field in Venezuela. And it was amazing to see the professionalism, the quality of leadership, the professionalism. General Raisin Kane is fantastic. Don't forget, we did another one not so long ago. It was called the knocking out of the Iranian nuclear threat, the nuclear power. And that was unbelievable what they did there. And this is something that, gee, I don't know, it's amazing. And to have a few injuries, but no death on our side is really amazing.
Okay, so a few injuries and no death. So we'll find out what those injuries are. Hopefully they're not too bad. And I am still monitoring. When the press conference begins, I'll cut right to it, guys. Don't worry, I'm monitoring right here. I'm dying to see it. If you're on hold, stand by. Now, this is the Nobel Peace Prize opposition leader who was also on Fox.
And they decided to dedicate it to President Trump because he deserves it. Because not only has he been involved in only a few months in solving 8 wars, but his actions have been decisive to have Venezuela now at a threshold of freedom after 26 years of tyranny that have destroyed the lives of millions of Venezuela, destabilized the region, and undermined the institutions in the United States, because having Venezuela as a safe haven of the enemies of the United States and using our territory and our resources to hurt the American people and American institutions is certainly a threat to the national security of the United States and the security of the hemisphere. But President Trump has been very clear, courageous in terms of dismantling this criminal structure. And on behalf of the Venezuelan people, I reaffirmed our gratitude and our commitment to this cause for the whole America. So I insist he deserves it.
Yeah. You know, whoever is left behind, because the president did mention that they have a vice president who's still in place. If that guy plays around, he's done. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, hey, good morning, Brian.
Yes.
Oh, it's Joan from Tampa Bay.
Oh, hey,
How
Joan.
are you doing?
This is a great day.
You know what? This is the first time in I don't know how many years this country has a leader.
Exactly.
A leader that fights for the people, fights for other people's. He's magnificent.
Mm-hmm.
Promises made, promises kept.
You know,
Period.
and it's an interesting thing because the things, you've heard me talk a lot in the last few weeks using this phrase, the things that President Trump is doing are universally good things. And what do you have? You have these these Democrats and never Trumpers like that, one of our fellow Floridians from Sebring I was talking to a few minutes ago, who are opposed to President Trump stopping the flow of illegal drugs like heroin, cocaine, and fentanyl into our country that's killing 300,000 a year.
Yeah, that's Highlands County. That's right next to Polk County with Grady Judd. I like Polk County.
Oh,
I
yeah.
used to live there.
Yeah, well, I don't like that guy. Well, Joan, I appreciate the call. Take care. Yeah, it's a good day. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Am I live?
For a moment.
Brother Brian.
Oh, hey, IB. Hey, what's up?
This is absolutely amazing. We talked about it over a year and a half ago when Trump got inaugurated and beat the bullets and the ballot box. And I said to you guys, he's going to use all of his avenues, or like Nancy Pelosi says, arrows in the quiver.
Mm-hmm.
The Monroe Doctrine, Monroe Doctrine is coming into play after 250 years. So here's my point. Anything, like we talked about 3 weeks ago, anything foreign and domestic that come in the Western Hemisphere that was already developed by two other presidents, now Trump is the third president that's going to use a rule, a law, okay? When we talked about Venezuela being circled, air and sea, that's what has happened. We talked about using all arsenal.
Yeah.
Those are the Delta Force and the Green Berets going in to do it. And you know what? He has all legal right. The Supreme Court can't do anything. And you know what? I'm going to give Pam Bondi a break. I'm going to give her a break because there was so much.
Well, you can give her a break. I'm not. Hey, I appreciate the call, IB. All right, if you're on hold, hang in there. Look at this. This is the first photo of Maduro when he arrived at the Iwo Jima. So I can't see the image on the front of this jacket of the hoodie they got him in, but this looks like something they gave him on the Iwo Jima. Is the Iwo Jima like one of those helicopter ships? It looks like they ripped him out of bed in his underwear, doesn't it? Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's awesome. And this is how you do it. And the transparency that we're getting here, right? We're getting these incredible photographs. We're getting the president doing a phone call live on national television, on Fox, going through the details. And we're getting things like this. The first photograph I saw came out a couple hours ago, and it was Maduro in fatigues. Now we got this. Now that looks up. Here's the president. Let's go.
We appreciate you being here. Late last night and early today, at my direction, the United States Armed Forces conducted an extraordinary military operation in the capital of Venezuela. Overwhelming American military power, air, land, and sea, was used to launch a spectacular assault. And it was an assault like people have not seen since World War II. It was a force against a heavily fortified military fortress in the heart of Caracas to bring outlaw dictator Nicolás Maduro to justice. This was one of the most stunning, effective, and powerful displays of American military might and competence in American history. And if you think about it, we've done some other good ones, like the attack on Soleimani.
Hope they take questions.
The attack on al-Baghdadi, and the obliteration and decimation of the Iran nuclear sites just recently in an operation known as Midnight Hammer. All perfectly executed and done. No nation in the world could achieve what America achieved yesterday, or frankly, in just a short period of time. All Venezuelan military capacities were rendered powerless as the men and women of our military, working with U.S. law enforcement, successfully captured Maduro in the dead of night. It was dark. The lights of Caracas were largely turned off due to a certain expertise that we have.
Ooh.
It was dark.
Secret weapon.
And it was deadly. But captured along with his wife, Celia Flores, both of whom now face American justice. Maduro and Flores have been indicted in the Southern District of New York. It's Jay Clayton, for their campaign of deadly narco-terrorism against the United States and its citizens. I want to thank the men and women of our military who achieved such an extraordinary success overnight with breathtaking speed, power, precision, and competence. You rarely see anything like it. You've seen some raids in this country that didn't go so well. They were an embarrassment. If you look back to Afghanistan, or if you look back to the Jimmy Carter days, they were different days. We're a respected country again, like never before. These highly trained warriors operating in collaboration with U.S. law enforcement caught them in a very ready position. They were waiting for us. They knew we had many ships out in the sea, just sort of waiting. They knew we were coming. So they were in what's called a ready position. But they were completely overwhelmed and very quickly incapacitated. If you would have seen what I saw last night, you would have been very impressed. I'm not sure that you'll ever get to see it, but it was an incredible thing to see. Not a single American service member was killed, and not a single piece of American equipment was lost. We had many helicopters, many planes, many people involved in that fight. But think of that, not one piece of military equipment was lost, not one service member was, more importantly, killed. The United States military is the strongest and most fearsome military on the planet by far. With capabilities and skills our enemies can scarcely begin to imagine. We have the best equipment anywhere in the world. There's no equipment like what we have, and you see that even if you just look at the boats. You know, we've knocked out 97% of the drugs coming in by sea. 90%. Each boat kills on average 25,000 people. We knocked out 97%. And those drugs mostly come from a place called Venezuela. We're going to run the country until such time as we can do a safe, proper, and judicious transition. So
we're going to run the country.
We don't want to be involved with having somebody else get in, and we have the same situation that we had for the last long period of years. So we are going to run the country until such time the proper transition can take place. So we're going to stay until such time as we're going to run it, essentially, until such time as a proper transition can take place.
We are occupying
As everyone
Venezuela
knows, the oil
now.
business in Venezuela has been a bust, a total bust, for a long period of time. They were pumping almost nothing by comparison to what they could have been pumping and what could have taken place. We're going to have our very large United States oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, go in, spend billions of dollars, fix the badly broken infrastructure, the oil infrastructure, and start making money for the country. And we are ready to stage a second and much larger attack if we need to do so. So we were prepared to do a second wave if we needed to do so. We actually assumed that a second wave would be necessary, but now it's probably not. The first wave, if you'd like to call it that, the first attack was so successful, we probably don't have to do a second, but we're prepared to do a second wave, a much bigger wave, actually. This was pinpoint, but we have a much bigger wave that probably won't have to do. This partnership of Venezuela with the United States of America, a country that everybody wants to be involved with because of what we were able to do and accomplish, will make the people of Venezuela rich, independent, and safe. And it will also make the many, many people from Venezuela that are living in the United States extremely happy. They suffered. They suffered. So much was taken from them. They're not going to suffer anymore. The illegitimate dictator Maduro was the kingpin of a vast criminal network responsible for trafficking colossal amounts of deadly and illicit drugs into the United States. As alleged in the indictment, he personally oversaw the vicious cartel known as Cartel de las Solas, which flooded our nation with lethal poison, responsible for the deaths of countless Americans, the many, many Americans. Hundreds of thousands over the years of Americans died because of him. Maduro and his wife will soon face the full might of American justice and stand trial on American soil. Right now, they're on a ship. They'll be heading to, ultimately, New York, and then a decision will be made, I assume, between New York and Miami or Florida. But we have people where the overwhelming evidence of their crimes will be presented in a court of law. And I've seen it. I've seen what we have. It's both horrible and breathtaking that something like this could have been allowed to take place. For many years after his term as president of Venezuela expired, Maduro remained in power and waged a ceaseless campaign of violence, terror, and subversion against the United States of America, threatening not only our people, but the stability of the entire region. And you all saw it. In addition to trafficking gigantic amounts of illegal drugs that inflicted untold suffering and human destruction all over the country, all over, in particular, the United States, Maduro sent savage and murderous gangs, including the bloodthirsty prison gang, Tren de Aragua, to terrorize American communities nationwide. And he did indeed. They were in Colorado. They took over apartment complexes. They cut the fingers off people if they called police. They were brutal, but they're not so brutal now. And I just have to congratulate our military, Pete and everybody, and our National Guard, because the job that they've done, whether it's in Washington, D.C., where we have a totally safe city, where it was one of the most unsafe cities anywhere in the world, frankly, and now we have no crime in Washington, D.C. We haven't had a killing. We had the terrorist attack a few weeks ago. A little bit of a different kind of a threat. But we haven't had a killing in a long period of time, 6-7 months. We used to have two, on average, 2 a week in Washington, our capital. We don't have that anymore. The restaurants are opening. Everyone's happy. They're going, they're walking their daughters, they're walking their children, their wives. They walk to restaurants. Restaurants are opening all over Washington, D.C. So I want to thank the National Guard. I want to thank our military. And I want to thank law enforcement. Been amazing. And they should do it with more cities. We're doing it, as you know, and we're doing it in Memphis, Tennessee right now, and crime is down. We've just sort of started a few weeks ago, but crime is down now 77%. And the governor of Louisiana called, great person, and he wanted us to help him, as you know, in a certain very nice part of Louisiana. And we have done that. And it was a rough section, and we have crime down. I understand it's down to almost nothing already after 2.5 weeks. New Orleans, It's down to almost nothing. And we've only been there for 2.5 weeks. Can't imagine why governors wouldn't want us to help. We also helped, as you know, in Chicago, and crime went down a little bit there. We did a very small help because we had no working ability with the governor. The governor was a disaster, and the mayor was a disaster. But it knocked down crime. But we're pulling out of there. When they need us, we'll know. You'll know. You'll be writing about it. And likewise, Los Angeles, where we saved Los Angeles early on, where the head of the police department made a statement that if the federal government didn't come in, we would have lost Los Angeles. That's long after the fires. That's when they had the riots in Los Angeles. We did a great job. Got no credit for it whatsoever, but that's okay. It doesn't matter. We don't need the credit. But we'll be pulling out when they need us. They'll call, or we'll go back if we have to. We'll go back. But we did a great job in various cities. But the place that we're very proud of is Washington, D.C., because it's our nation's capital. We took it from being a crime-ridden mess to being one of the safest cities in the country. But the gangs that they sent raped, tortured, and murdered American women and children. They were in all of the cities I mentioned, Tren de Aragua. And they were sent by Maduro to terrorize our people, and now Maduro will never again be able to threaten an American citizen or anybody from Venezuela. There will no longer be threats. For years I've highlighted the stories of those innocent Americans whose lives were so heartlessly robbed by this Venezuelan terrorist organization. Really one of the worst. One of the worst, they say the worst. Americans like 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari from Houston. Beautiful Jocelyn Nungari, what happened to her? They, as you know, they kidnapped, assaulted, and murdered by Tren de Aragua animals. They murdered Jocelyn and left her dead under the bridge. There was a bridge that will never be the same to so many people after seeing what happened. As I've said many times, the Maduro regime emptied out their prisons, sent their worst and most violent monsters into the United States to steal American lives. And they came from mental institutions and insane asylums. They came from prisons and jails. The reason I say both, they sound similar. Actually, prisons, a little bit more hostile, a little bit tougher. A mental institution isn't as tough as an insane asylum, but we got them both. They sent from their mental institutions. They sent from their jails, prisons. They were drug dealers. They were drug kingpins. They sent everybody bad into the United States, but no longer. And we have now a border where nobody gets through. In addition, Venezuela unilaterally seized and stole American oil, American assets, and American platforms, costing us billions and billions of dollars.
Oh, we're seizing our oil
This was
back.
a while ago, but we never had a president that did anything about it. They took all of our property. It was our property. We built it. And we never had a president that decided to do anything about it. Instead, they fought wars that were 10,000 miles away. We built Venezuela oil industry with American talent, drive, and skill, and the socialist regime stole it from us during those previous administrations, and they stole it through force. This constituted one of the largest thefts of American property in the history of our country. Considered the largest theft of property in the history of our country. Massive oil infrastructure was taken like we were babies, so we didn't do anything about it. I would have done something about it. America will never allow foreign powers to rob our people or drive us back into and out of our own hemisphere. That's what they did. Furthermore, under the now deposed dictator Maduro, Venezuela was increasingly hosting foreign adversaries in our region and acquiring menacing offensive weapons that could threaten U.S. interests and lives. And they used those weapons last night. Potentially in league with the cartels operating along our border. All of these actions were in gross violation of the core principles of American foreign policy, dating back more than 2 centuries. And not anymore. All the way back, it dated to the Monroe Doctrines. And the Monroe Doctrine is a big deal. But we've superseded it by a lot. By a real lot. They now call it the Monroe Document. I don't know. It's Monroe Doctrine. We sort of forgot about it. It was very important, but we forgot about it. We don't forget about it anymore. Under our new national security strategy, American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. Won't happen. So just in concluding, for decades, other administrations have neglected or even contributed to these growing security threats in the Western Hemisphere. Under the Trump administration, we are reasserting American power in a very powerful way in our home region. And our home region is very different than it was just a short while ago. The future will be, and we did this in my first term. We had great dominance in my first term, and we have far greater dominance right now. Everyone's coming back to us. The future will be determined by the ability to protect commerce and territory and resources that are core to national security. These are core to our national security. Just like tariffs are, they've made our country rich, and they've made our national security strong, stronger than ever before. But these are the iron laws that have always determined global power. And we're going to keep it that way. We will secure our borders. We will stop the terrorists. We will crash the cartels, and we will defend our citizens against all threats, foreign and domestic. Other presidents may have lacked the courage or whatever to defend America, but I will never allow terrorists and criminals to operate with impunity against the United States. This extremely successful operation should serve as warning to anyone who would threaten American sovereignty or endanger American lives. Very importantly, the embargo on all Venezuelan oil remains in full effect. The American Armada remains poised in position, and the United States retains all military options until United States demands have been fully met and fully satisfied. All political and military figures in Venezuela should understand what happened to Maduro can happen to them, and it will happen to them if they aren't just fair, even to their people. The dictator and terrorist, Maduro, is finally gone in Venezuela. People are free. They're free again. It's been a long time for them, but they're free. America is a safer nation this morning. It's a prouder nation this morning because it didn't allow this horrible person and this country that was doing very bad things to us. It didn't allow it to happen. And the Western Hemisphere is right now a much safer place to be. So I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank General Raisin Kane. He's a fantastic man. I've worked with a lot of generals. I worked with some I didn't like. I worked with some I didn't respect. I worked with some that just weren't good.
Millie.
But this guy is fantastic. I watched last night one of the most precise attacks on sovereignty. I mean, it was an attack for justice. And I'm very proud of him, and I'm very proud of our Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, who I'm going to ask to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Finally, a commander-in-chief the world respects and the American people deserve. And as the president said, words can barely capture the bravery and the power and the precision of this historic operation. A massive joint military and law enforcement raid flawlessly executed by the greatest Americans our country has to offer. American warriors are second to none, the best in the world and the best of our country. What all of us witnessed last night was sheer guts and grit, gallantry, and glory of the American warrior. I'm simply humbled by such men. And I tip my hat to our chairman, Dan Raisin Kane, and all those Americans who stood watch last night. Our warriors are the elite of America, and again, President Trump has your back. No other country on planet Earth, and it's not even close, could pull this kind of operation off. And no other president has ever shown this kind of leadership, courage, and resolve. The most powerful combination the world has ever seen. As the president said, our adversaries remain on notice. America can project our will anywhere, anytime. The coordination, the stealth, the lethality, the precision, the very long arm of American justice, all on full display.
Oh, look, CIA director back there, next
Nicolás
to Marco.
Maduro had his chance, just like Iran had their chance, until they didn't and until he didn't. He effed around, and he found out. President Trump is deadly serious about stopping the flow of gangs and violence to our country. Deadly serious about stopping the flow of drugs and poison to our people. Deadly serious about getting back the oil that was stolen from us. And deadly serious about reestablishing American deterrence and dominance in the Western Hemisphere. This is about the safety, security, freedom, and prosperity of the American people. This is America first. This is peace through strength. And the United States War Department is proud to help deliver it. Welcome to 2026. And under President Trump, America is back. I'd like to welcome now our chairman, Chairman Raising Cane, to give a few more details about the operation. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning. Last night, on the order of the President of the United States and in support of a request from the Department of Justice, as the President said, the United States military conducted an apprehension mission in Caracas, Venezuela, to bring to justice two indicted persons, Nicolás and Cecilia Maduro. This operation, known as Operation Absolute Resolve, was discreet, precise, and conducted during the darkest hours of January 2nd and was the culmination of months of planning and rehearsal, an operation that, frankly, only the United States military could undertake. What I'd like to do this morning is talk to you through some of the preparation and the details without compromising any of our tactics, techniques, and procedures. There is always a chance that we'll be tasked to do this type of mission again. Our interagency work began months ago and built on decades of experience of integrating complex air, ground, space, and maritime operations. While the past 2 decades have honed the skills of our special operations forces, this particular mission required every component of our joint force, with soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians working in unison with our intelligence agency partners and law enforcement teammates in an unprecedented operation. We leveraged our unmatched intelligence capabilities and our years of experience in hunting terrorists, and we could not have done this mission without the incredible work by various intelligence agencies, including the CIA, NSA, and NGA. We watched, we waited, we prepared, we remained patient and professional. This mission was meticulously planned, drawing lessons from decades of missions over the last many years, many missions over these last many years. This was an audacious operation that only the United States could do. It required the utmost of precision and integration within our joint force. And the word integration does not explain the sheer complexity of such a mission. An extraction so precise it involved more than 150 aircraft launching across the Western Hemisphere in close coordination, all coming together in time and place to layer effects for a single purpose: to get an interdiction force into downtown Caracas while maintaining the element of tactical surprise. Failure of one component of this well-oiled machine would have endangered the entire mission, and failure is never an option for America's joint force. Those in the air over Caracas last night were willing to give their lives for those on the ground and in the helicopters. Let me talk a little bit about the preparation. After months of work by our intelligence teammates to find Maduro and understand how he moved, where he lived, where he traveled, what he ate, what he wore, what were his pets, in early December, our force was set pending a series of aligned events. Key was choosing the right day to minimize the potential for civilian harm and maximize the element of surprise, and minimize the harm to the indicted personnel so, as the President said, they could be brought to justice. And as the President said earlier today, weather in Venezuela is always a factor this time of the year. And over the weeks through Christmas and New Year's, the men and women of the United States military sat ready, patiently waiting for the right triggers to be met and the president to order us into action. Last night, the weather broke just enough, clearing a path that only the most skilled aviators in the world could maneuver through. Ocean, mountain, low cloud ceilings, but when tasked with a mission, this organization does not quit. At 10:46 p.m. Eastern Time last night, the president ordered the United States military to move forward with this mission. He said to us, and we appreciate it, Mr. President, good luck and Godspeed. And those words were transmitted to the entire joint force. Over the course of the night, aircraft began launching from 20 different bases on land and sea across the Western Hemisphere. In total, more than 150 aircraft, bombers, fighters, intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, rotary wing were in the air last night. Thousands and thousands of hours of experience were airborne. Our youngest crew member was 20, and our oldest crew member was 49, and there's simply no match for American military might. As the night began, the helicopters took off with the extraction force, which included law enforcement officers, and began their flight into Venezuela at 100 feet above the water. As they approached Venezuelan shores, the United States began layering different effects provided by Spacecom, Cybercom, and other members of the interagency to create a pathway. Overhead, those forces were protected by aircraft from the United States Marines, the United States Navy, the United States Air Force, and the Air National Guard. The force included F-22s, F-35s, F-18s, EA-18s, E-2s, B-1 bombers, and other support aircraft, as well as numerous remotely piloted drones. As the force began to approach Caracas, the Joint Air Component began dismantling and disabling the air defense systems in Venezuela, employing weapons to ensure the safe passage of the helicopters into the target area. The goal of our air component was, and always will be to protect the helicopters and the ground force and get them to the target and get them home. As the force crossed the last point of high terrain where they'd been hiding in the clutter, we assessed that we had maintained totally the element of surprise. As the helicopter force ingressed towards the objective at low level, we arrived at Maduro's compound at 1:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 2:01 a.m. Caracas local time, and the apprehension force descended into Maduro's compound and moved with speed, precision, and discipline towards their objective and isolated the area to ensure the safety and security of the ground force while apprehending the indicted persons. On arrival into the target area, the helicopters came under fire, and they replied with that fire with overwhelming force in self-defense. One of our aircraft was hit but remained flyable, and as the president said earlier today, all of our aircraft came home, and that aircraft remained flyable during the rest of the mission. As the operation unfolded at the compound, our air and ground intelligence teams provided real-time updates to the ground force, ensuring those forces could safely navigate the complex environment without unnecessary risk. The force remained protected by overhead tactical aviation. Maduro and his wife, both indicted, gave up and were taken into custody by the Department of Justice, assisted by our incredible U.S. military with professionalism and precision, with no loss of U.S. life. After securing the indicted persons, the force began to prep for departure. Helicopters were called in to exfiltrate the extraction force, while fighter aircraft and remotely piloted aircraft provided overhead coverage and suppressive fire. There were multiple self-defense engagements as the force began to withdraw out of Venezuela. The force successfully exfiltrated and returned to their afloat launch bases, and the force was over the water at 3:29 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with indicted persons on board.
Wow.
And both Maduro and his wife were embarked aboard the USS Iwo Jima. In closing, what we've witnessed today is a powerful demonstration of America's joint force. We think, we develop, we train, we rehearse, we debrief, we rehearse again and again, not to get it right, but to ensure that we cannot get it wrong. Our jobs are to integrate combat power so when the order comes, we can deliver overwhelming force at the time and the place of our choosing against any foe anywhere in the world. I am immensely proud today of our joint force and filled with gratitude to represent them here today. There is simply no mission too difficult for these incredible professionals and the families that stand by them and support them. As we stand here this morning, our forces remain in the region at a high state of readiness, prepared to project power, defend themselves, and our interests in the region. This operation is a testament to the dedication and unwavering commitment to justice and our resolve to hold accountable those who threaten peace and stability. In closing, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the brave men and women who executed this mission. Their courage and tireless commitment to our nation are what makes us strong. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and thank you, Mr. President.
Do you think if Milley was still chairman of the Joint Chiefs, it would have gone so
I
flawlessly?
don't have much to add to what you've heard now, other than the following points. Nicolás Maduro was indicted in 2020 in the United States. He is not the legitimate president of Venezuela. That's not just us saying it. The first Trump administration, the Biden administration, the second Trump administration, none of those three recognized him. He's not recognized by the European Union and multiple countries around the world. He is a fugitive of American justice with a $50 million reward, which I guess we saved $50 million. And yeah, exactly. But
don't let anybody claim it. Nobody deserves it but us.
But I want to be clear about one thing. Nicolás Maduro had multiple opportunities to avoid this. He was provided multiple very, very, very generous offers and chose instead to act like a wild man, chose instead to play around. And the result is what we saw tonight. The other message here is the following. You have a guy, like many people around the world, they like to play games. You have a guy who decides he's going to invite Iran into his country, is going to, do the confiscation of American oil companies, is going to flood our country with gang members, is going to take Americans prisoner and try to hold them for hostage and trade them like he was able to do with the Biden administration. Basically likes to play games all this time and thinks nothing's going to happen. And I hope what people now understand is that we have a president. The 47th president of the United States is not a game player. When he tells you that he's going to do something, when tells you he's going to address a problem, he means it. He actions it. I can tell you, I've watched this process now for 14, 15 years, been around it. Everybody talks. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. When I get there, we're going to do this. We're going to take. This is a president of action. Like, I don't understand yet how they haven't figured this out. And now, if you don't know, now you know. Because this is the way it's going to play out. And I think people need to understand that this is not a president that just talks and does letters and press conferences. And,
exactly.
If he says he's serious about something, he means it. And this is something that was a direct threat to the national interest of the United States. And the president addressed it. There's a president of peace, by the way. I told you what I just said earlier. This guy had multiple opportunities to find his way somewhere else and figure out another. He could have been living somewhere else right now, very happy. But instead, he wanted to play big boy. And so now, he's got other sets of problems on his hands. And but I think the message here should be for the world. Look, the president doesn't go out looking for people to pick fights with. He's not generally wants to get along with everybody. We'll talk and meet with anybody. But don't play games. Don't play games with this president's in office because it's not going to turn out well. And so I hope that, I guess that lesson was learned last night, and we hope it'll be instructive moving forward.
Is that a message for Cuba, Mr. President?
Oh, I hope they take the questions. Take the questions. Here we go.
Please. Well, we're going to be running it with a group, and we're going to make sure it's run properly. We're going to rebuild the oil infrastructure, which will cost billions of dollars. It'll be paid for by the oil companies directly. They will be reimbursed for what they're doing, but that's going to be paid. and we're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be. As you know, it was just a minor flow. It was actually a minor flow for what they have. But we're going to run it properly, and we're going to make sure the people of Venezuela are taken care of. We're going to make sure the people that were forced out of Venezuela by this thug are also taken care of.
President, does the U.S. running the country mean that U.S. troops will be on the ground? How will that work?
Well, you know, they always say boots on the ground. Oh, so we're not afraid of boots on the ground if we have to have. We had boots on the ground last night at a very high level, actually. We're not afraid of it. We don't mind saying it, but we're going to make sure that that country is run properly. We're not doing this in vain. This is a very dangerous attack. This is an attack that could have gone very, very badly. Could have gone very badly. We could have lost a lot of people last night. We could have lost a lot of dignity. We could have lost a lot of equipment. The equipment is less important, but we could have lost a lot, and we're going to make sure that this is proper. We're there now. We're ready to go again if we have to. We're going to run the country right. It's going to be run very judiciously, very fairly. It's going to make a lot of money. We're going to give money to the people. We're going to reimburse people that were taken advantage of. We're going to take care of everybody. It's very important. We couldn't let them get away with it. You know, they stole our oil. We built that whole industry there, and they just took it over like we were nothing. And we had a president that decided not to do anything about it. So we did something about it. We're late, but we did something about it. Yeah, please.
Mechanism by which you're going to run the country? Are you going to designate a U.S. official to coordinate?
Yes, it's all being done right now. We're designating people. We're talking to people. We're designating various people, and we're going to let you know who those people are.
Would run Venezuela?
Well, it's largely going to be, for a period of time, the people that are standing right behind me.
Ooh.
We're going to be running it.
Marco
We're going to be
Rubio.
bringing it back. It's a dead, you know, I talk about a dead country. A year and a half ago, we were a dead country. Now we're the hottest country anywhere in the world. We're a country doing better than any country anywhere in the world. And it required leadership. Venezuela has a lot of bad people in there, a lot of bad people that shouldn't be leading. We're not going to take a chance that one of those people take over for Maduro. So you can look at, and others, we have fantastic people, including people in the military. So we're going to have a group of people running it until such time as it can be put back on track, make a lot of money for the people, and give people a great way of life, and also reimbursement for people in our country that were forced out of Venezuela.
Wow.
Rubio would be...
You said earlier today that you weren't going to back Machado to come back and be the opposition leader in your Fox and Friends interview. And then you also mentioned the vice president of Venezuela. Are you going to work with the vice president of Venezuela, or how do you foresee the relationship
Well, I
going?
understand she was just sworn in, but she was, as you know, picked by Maduro. So Marco's working on that directly. He just had a conversation with her, and she's essentially willing to do what we think is necessary to make Venezuela great again. Very simple.
That's right.
Mr. President, Colombian President Gustavo Petro, a couple weeks ago, he said he's got to watch his ass. And today he said he's not concerned about anything happening to him in the aftermath of this operation. So just what your message is about that.
Well, he has cocaine mills. He has factories where he makes cocaine. And, yeah, I think I stick by my first statement. He's making cocaine. They're sending it into the United States. So he does have to watch his ass.
Mr. President, did you notify any members of Congress in advance?
Marco, do you want to talk about that? Because you were involved in it.
Sure. We called members of Congress immediately after. This was not the kind of mission that you can do congressional notification on. It was a trigger-based mission in which conditions had to be met night after night. We watched and monitored that for a number of days. So it's just simply not the kind of mission you can call people and say, hey, we may do this at some point in the next 15 days. But it's largely a law enforcement function. Remember, at the end of the day, at its core, this was an arrest of 2 indicted fugitives of American justice, and the Department of War supported the Department of Justice in that job. Now, there are broader policy implications here, but it's just not the kind of mission that you can pre-notify because it endangers the mission.
Plus, if I could add one thing to that, Congress has a tendency to leak. This would not be good.
That's
if
right.
If they leaked, General, I think it would have been maybe a very different result. But I have to say, they knew we were coming at some point, you know. We had a lot of ships out there. They sort of knew we were coming. We went through. But Congress will leak, and we don't want leakers.
people to watch this all play out live. What was Maduro doing when the U.S. forces entered what I assume would be his home? And also, was there any point where the U.S. was considering if Maduro pushed back or resisted killing Maduro?
It could have happened. It could have happened. He was trying to get into a safe place. You know what a safe place is, all steel. And he wasn't able to make it to the door because our guys were so fast. They went through the opposition so fast. And there was a lot of opposition. You know, people were wondering, did we get them by surprise? Sort of surprised, but they were waiting for something. It was a lot of opposition. There was a lot of gunfire. You saw some of it today. But he was trying to get to a safe place, which wasn't safe because we would have had the door blown up in about 47 seconds, they say on average, regardless of how thick the steel was. It was a very thick door. It was a very heavy door, but he was unable to get to that door. He made it to the door. He was unable to close it.
Wow.
Go ahead, finish.
To be in the time being right now, do you know his exact
Well,
whereabouts?
eventually, ultimately, in the near future, he's going to be brought to New York.
And where is he going to be held? Where is he going to be held in New York? Do you know?
That's going to be up to the officials that do these things.
Mr. President, the U.S. has something of a mixed track record of ousting dictators without necessarily a plan for what comes afterwards.
Not with
Did
me.
that weigh on your decision?
Well, that's when we had different presidents, but with me, that's not true. With me, we've had a perfect track record of winning. We win a lot, and we win. If you look at Soleimani, you look at al-Baghdadi, you look at the Midnight Hammer. Midnight Hammer was incredible. Right now, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. We have essentially peace in the Middle East because of that. If we weren't successful with Midnight Hammer, you wouldn't have peace in the Middle East. So, with me, you've had a lot of victory. You've had only victories. You've had no losses. Yeah.
How long do you expect the U.S. to run Venezuela, and how soon do you want Venezuelan people to hold elections?
So I'd like to do it quickly, but it takes a period of time. You know, we're rebuilding. We have to rebuild their whole infrastructure. The infrastructure is rotted. It's actually very dangerous. It's blow-up territory. Oil is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous thing to take out of the ground. It can kill a lot of people. It has killed a lot of people doing just that. The infrastructure is old. It's rotted. Much of it is stuff that we put there 25 years ago, and we're going to be replacing it. And we're going to take a lot of money out so that we can take care of the country. Yeah.
Are you saying that Secretary Rubio and
Mr. President, China, Russia, and Iran have interests in Venezuela. How does this operation affect your relationships with them when it comes to the oil and drugs?
And Russia, Russia when we get things straightened out. But in terms of other countries that want oil, we're in the oil business. We're going to sell it to them. We're not going to say we're not going to give it. In other words, we'll be selling oil probably in much larger doses because they couldn't produce very much because their infrastructure was so bad. So we'll be selling large amounts of oil to other countries, many of whom are using it now, but I would say many more will come.
Are you saying, Mr. President, are you saying that, Mr. President, are you saying that?
Oh, Mr. President, thank you. What is your message to the people of Venezuela today? Of course, the civilian population specifically, they have a lot of questions. What is your message to the people of Venezuela?
That you're going to have peace, justice. You're going to have some of the riches that you should have had for a long period of time. It was stolen from you. But you're going to have peace and you're going to have safety. You're going to have justice. You're going to have a country. You're going to have a real country. You're going to have potentially a great country. You know, if you go back 20 years, maybe even a little longer ago, that was a great country. And they destroyed it. Remember I said that if we lose this election, the United States will be Venezuela on steroids. That's what would have happened. Had we lost the election, the 2024 election, we suffered so badly. When you look at the border from 2020, what they did, what Joe Biden administration did to our country should never be forgotten. But if we had to go through another year of that, we would be exactly where Venezuela was in terms. I used to say, if they win, we're going to be Venezuela on steroids, and that's what would have happened.
President, thank you. Are you saying that Secretary Hegseth and Rubio are going to be running Venezuela, and will you be sending in U.S. military
They're
troops
going to
to
be a
provide?
team that's working with the people of Venezuela to make sure that we have Venezuela right. Because for us to just leave, who's going to take over? I mean, there is nobody to take over. You have a vice president who's been appointed by Maduro. And right now she's the vice president, and she's, I guess, the president. She was sworn in as president just a little while ago. She had a long conversation with Marco, and she said, we'll do whatever you need. I think she was quite gracious, but she really doesn't have a choice. We're going to have this done right. We're not going to just do this with Maduro, then leave like everybody else, leave and say, let it go to hell. If we just left, it has zero chance of ever coming back. We'll run it properly. We'll run it professionally. We'll have the greatest oil companies in the world go in and invest billions and billions of dollars and take out money, use that money in Venezuela. And the biggest beneficiary are going to be the people of Venezuela. And also, I can't stress this strongly enough, the people that got thrown out of Venezuela that are now in the United States, and frankly, some want to stay and some probably want to go back, yeah.
The country, and were any of the detained Americans?
Well, right now they're very
last
protected because nobody's going to mess with us. They're very protected. The people of, and we let them know that you better not touch one of them.
And are you concerned that bad elements of the Maduro regime will remain in place?
Well, we know who they are. We're on them, and they're acting much differently now than they would have acted 2 days ago. Okay, wait, behind you, please.
Mr. President, why is running a country in South America America first?
Well, I think it is because we want to surround ourselves with good neighbors. We want to surround ourselves with stability. We want to surround ourselves with energy. We have tremendous energy in that country. It's very important that we protect it. We need that for ourselves. We need that for the world. And we want to make sure we can protect it. Yes, sir. Please, go ahead.
Yeah, is there a message here for Cuba and Diaz-Canel?
Well, Cuba's an interesting case. Cuba is, not doing very well right now. That system has not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. And we want to help the people. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about, when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. So suffice it to say, Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all of the guards that helped protect Maduro, this is well known, their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. They basically, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems the Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba that tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit.
Cutting off the oil flow to Cuba from Venezuela?
Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's a pre-existing.
The answer is yes.
No more oil, Cuba.
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Mr. President, on Monday.
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect to be the leader.
Mr. President, is it possible that the U.S. ends up administrating Venezuela for years?
Well, it won't cost us anything because the money coming out of the ground is very substantial, so it's not going to cost us anything. We will. Well, we want safety there. We want to be surrounded by countries that aren't housing all of our enemies all over the world. That's what was happening, and you don't want to have that. But we're going to be rebuilding, and we're not spending money. The oil companies are going to go in. They're going to spend money. We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago. A lot of money is coming out of the ground. We're going to get reimbursed for all of that. We're going to get reimbursed for everything that we spend. So it's going to be a very important. This is a very big evening that took place last night. We have to be surrounded by safe, secure countries, and we also have to have energy. Very important. We have to have energy that's real energy, not where they're getting 4% and 5% of the energy out of the ground. You take a look. It was such a disaster. So what's going to happen with Venezuela, I think, over the next period of a year, is going to be a great thing, and the people of Venezuela will be the biggest beneficiaries.
Going to send in U.S. military.
Mr. President, thank you. What did you last
speak to Maduro about when you spoke? And is the
Well,
US
I don't want to
at
get
war
into
with
the
Venezuela?
conversations, but I did have conversations with him, and I said, you got to surrender. And I actually thought he was pretty close to doing so, but now he wished he did, yeah.
You said that Maduro is responsible for drug trafficking. You recently pardoned the former president of Honduras who was convicted of many drug trafficking. Can you explain how these two situations are
Well,
different? And would you ever pardon Maduro?
I endorsed, as you know, the winning president, the man who won in Honduras. I endorsed the man who won in Chile. I endorsed the man who won in Argentina. And we are doing very well with that whole group. What the man that I pardoned was, if you could equate it to us, he was treated like the Biden administration treated a man named Trump. That didn't work out too well for them. This was a man who was persecuted very unfairly. He was the head of the country. He was persecuted very unfairly. And there are a number of them. And we felt that it was a very unfair situation that happened to him. He's also a party member of the man who won. So obviously the people liked what I did. And one of the reasons that was done is because of the fact that the party in power felt very strongly that that man was treated very badly. I studied it very quickly, and then I studied it in great detail. I went to a lot of the people standing behind me, and they felt that that man was persecuted and treated very badly. That's why I gave him a pardon.
You referenced boots on the ground earlier. Can you just sort of button this up? Do you envision the U.S. military having a presence in Venezuela as the U.S. runs that
Well,
country?
no, we're going to have a presence in Venezuela as it pertains to oil, because we have to have, we're sending our expertise in. So you may need something, not very much. But no, we're going to be taking out a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground. And that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela and people from outside of Venezuela that used to be in Venezuela. And it goes also to the United States of America in the form of reimbursement for the damages caused us by that country. So I want to thank you all very much. Thank you. Do you have one? Yes, please. You were so nice before. I'm going to give you the final question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr.
Unless
President.
it's a bad question, in
It's
which
about
case I'll
Putin.
go one word. It's about who?
It's about Putin, if you want.
About Putin. Well, that's
Okay.
always nice
You had
to
a
talk
phone-
about Putin.
You had a phone call with him
Yeah.
on Monday. Did he talk at all about Maduro? Did y'all talk about this?
No, we didn't.
And
We
then-
never spoke about Maduro.
Are you mad at him right now? I mean, there's this
I'm not
intelligence.
thrilled with Putin. I'm not thrilled with Putin. He's killing too many people. I thought that would be so. I settled 8 1/4 war. You know what the 1/4 was? Thailand and Cambodia. I did it again. They broke out, and I did it in about 5 hours, and I settled it. I'm giving myself 1/4, so I'm up to now 8 1/4. In other words, I settled the war, but then they broke out. They had a pretty bad breakout over the last 4 days. I got them to go back to peace, so I only give 1/4. I thought the easiest one would be, one of the easier ones would be Russia, Ukraine. It's not, and they both have done some pretty bad things. And look, that's Biden's war. That's not my war. But I want to stop the lives. Did you see where last month 30,000? It was 27,000 the month before. 30,000, mostly soldiers, were killed this last month. 30,000. I want to stop that. You know, I got NATO to pay 5% instead of the 2% that they weren't paying. They weren't paying 2, now they pay 5. And we send them a lot of munitions. We send them a lot of things, missiles and various other things, a lot. And they pay. The United States is not losing money. We're probably making money on that. It's the last thing I care about. I just want to stop all those people. We're losing 25, 30,000 human beings. They come from 2 places that are very far away. But if I can stop, because it's something I've been pretty good at doing, deals, I guess. It's all a deal. Life is a big deal. But if I can stop that war and stop 30,000 young people, in addition to the fact that people are being killed in Kiev, people are being killed in other cities throughout, a much smaller number, but they're being killed, viciously killed. So I'm not happy about it. I thought that would be something that would get solved. We have Mr. Witkoff here. I think that we're making progress, but that's a war that should have never happened. If I were president, it would have never happened. Putin says it. Everybody says it. If I were president, that would have never happened. But I inherited that war. That was Joe Biden, Zelensky, and Putin. I came into the situation, and it's a mess. And I will say this, I watched an operation last night that was so precise, that was so brilliant. I mean, it was incredible. If we had our people, like this general and our people involved, that war would not have gone on very long, that I can tell you. That war, to use an old term, that war has become a bloodbath, and we want it to get stopped. Thank you very much, everybody.
Wow. Pretty amazing. Okay, we got a lot of information there. Yeah, we got a lot of information. And what we got is that we've conquered Venezuela, and we're going to stay there, and we're going to build the country back up. And if you look at it, he went through these countries, Honduras, now we have Venezuela, Chile, Argentina. Did I leave any out? You see how President Trump has formed this really MAGA Latin America, right? And these are big countries. And remember, Venezuela is an OPEC nation. And now, I guess now we're a member of OPEC, since we have just conquered, and we're going to occupy Venezuela, right? And President Trump has put together this massive Latin American alliance in South America. It's amazing what he's done here. I mean, these are really, the biggest threat that this country has faced for our entire lives is the threat from Latin America. There's really never been a point in American history where we haven't had conflicts, or a lot of wars with Mexico in the early days, right? But no one has really done anything about it. Said a lot of things, made some comments, some angry statements and things over the years. But, and you look at all the problems that's happened. I remember before Trump came down the escalator, people were always talking about the border issue. No one did a darn thing about it. Not only has he closed down the border, there are people running many of the major countries of Latin America. Venezuela will be next, but we're running Venezuela now. I guess Marco Rubio is going to kind of be running it. The drugs and the people that have been pouring into our country, that have been killing people, committing crimes against people, overwhelming our entire infrastructure, from hospital emergency rooms to the jails to the schools and the roads and everything else in between, killing people in accidents on the highways, all of that. Who would have ever thought that any of this could be taken care of? And he did it, boom, just like that. And you talk about America first. It doesn't get more America first than this. All these wars since the Second World War that we've been in, which one of those wars, Vietnam, Korea, right? Iraq 1, Iraq 2, none of these things. Which one of these wars was a direct response to something going on? Even Afghanistan, because what we learned here is that the war in Afghanistan could have been avoided. We could have gone in and got bin Laden and all the al-Qaeda leaders. And you know what? We could have gotten the Taliban leaders too, on a dime if we wanted. This guy Maduro, he had modern forces around him, unlike al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. That war was allowed to continue for a long, long time on purpose by Bush and Cheney. Right? I mean, what just happened in Venezuela is amazing. They have, Venezuela, they have an intelligence agency. They have anti-aircraft capability. They have Air Force capability. They have combat helicopters. They have some Navy. They've been working in coordination for at least 10, if not 15 years with the Iranians, doing naval maneuvers off of South America, which never should have been allowed. And you heard Marco Rubio. They've got a lot of assets from Cuba that have basically been running the country, doing all kinds of things. So this is amazing. And you know what? Cuba's in big trouble because Cuba, which has been on the verge of collapse for decades, they've been getting oil illegally from Venezuela. They're completely cut off now. There's no more oil going to Cuba. It's gonna turn into the road warrior real quick in Cuba. And it's a very interesting thing because the president, when he was on Fox and Friends, they asked him, and he held back. they said, well, who's going to be running Venezuela? And he says, well, they have a vice president, which implied that that was going to be it. I was like, okay, I'm a little surprised to hear that. Then we find out, no, he wanted to wait till the press conference to let us know what exactly was going on. So the United States, it will be occupying Venezuela. We'll be occupying Venezuela permanently. There's going to be permanent U.S. military bases in Venezuela. And it's about time. You know, I mean, you know, we get military action down there. We have military forces down there. There aren't going to be any more caravans coming to the southern border invading the country. They'll be stopped right there by the military. This is amazing. And the media that were asking him questions, there were some good questions there, but they're kind of in shock. You know, the media aren't really used to a new military action coming out with somebody who's incompetent who's competent with a plan. They're used to incompetent presidents who have no forward thinking because they just are creating wars for the military industrial complex. If you're new to my channel, my name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe if you're new. And those of you that are already sub, please like the video. I live stream every day. I'll be back throughout the weekend when there are developments with this. And as always, when I'm in the studio, I take live calls like I was doing in the beginning of the stream. And those of you that are new, the calls are completely screenless and unvetted. So regardless of what your thoughts and opinions are, you call in. No one answers the phone. I just put you on hold. And I don't know who's on the line until I say, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Then I know, when you tell me your name, who you are, where you're calling from. But this was just phenomenal. And bringing Raising Cane out of retirement to be the Joint Chiefs. Do you think if General Milley was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs still, that this operation would have ended so well? No. And I was a little surprised after hearing him on Fox and Friends this morning that we're going to have a permanent military presence there. He said just for the oil alone. All right, guys, well, listen, thanks for watching. Again, my name is Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I will talk to you next time. Thanks for watching.